everybody, and welcome to another EDU Q&A. We're so excited to be doing another one of these. We loved your responses the last few weeks from our last video. So thank you again to everybody that commented, that gave us some questions. We're excited to get into them today. We're going to make this quick. We're going to make this straightforward. Let's get right into it. So we had somebody talk about, they said, I feel like I don't know enough when it comes to telling people about end times teaching. So they said, well, what helps the most in this situation? I have an opinion on this, but the thing that changed my thinking years ago was when you said just really simply, you can't get your rapture doctrine from the Gospels. Sounds pretty simple. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, it seems like it would be hard to understand, but once you get a couple of key factors in place, once those are in place and set up, it makes it all make sense. You have to look at, even when it comes to end times, you have to base it on after the resurrection. If you try to get your end time doctrine before Jesus was raised from the dead, it's still all law. And because he told the disciples, pray that you might be accounted worthy to escape all these things and stand before the Son of Man. And we don't have to pray that way because we are worthy. It has nothing to do with what we've done, but what he's done. He made me worthy. Now, he was talking to Jewish boys there. They need to pray to be accounted worthy because they weren't. So that's the main one there. And so often, it's kind of cool, though. It shows you how powerful the resurrection is. That it can even change the way end time things are viewed or set up based on pre-resurrection and post-resurrection.
Because it's interesting. It's really the Gospels are in the New Testament, but really until he dies, the rules change. Is that kind of the...
Exactly.
It's basically how to look at it.
It's flawless how Jesus fulfilled the law perfectly, but on the other hand, he brought in a New Testament. I mean, with a woman that was caught in adultery, he goes, where are your accusers? He said, first, those of you that don't have sin, throw the first stone. What a perfect way to bridge the gap between the old and the new. In the old, she's going to get stoned. In the new, she's going to be forgiven. Well, he brought those two together right there, so I'm sure it freaked them out for a while.
I believe it. That would have been crazy just to see all that, because he's literally having to change their hearts and minds about this stuff while they're still in the Old Testament.
Because it seems like you're doing something wrong.
It
seems like this is not right. This is not justice. But that just shows you how good the New Testament is. Once you get into the epistles, you find out. I've heard one guy say, he said, if you teach it where it's too good to be true, you're almost getting in how good it is.
Yep, exactly.
It has to almost be taught like that.
That's so cool. Yeah, so you can't get your rapture doctrine from the Gospels. The second coming has sign after sign after sign, but the rapture before that has no signs.
People often use Matthew 24 and 25. They get into that, and one's taken and one's left. They can't comprehend that that's not the rapture. That's the wicked are taken off the earth at the second coming. At the rapture, we go up to meet Jesus in the clouds. At the second coming, we bodily come back down with him. And Jesus said, I'll let the wheat grow with the tares, and at the end of the age, the angels will be the reapers, and they'll separate them.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes it simple for me. I know when I heard that years ago, that's really what, it just made it click. I was just like, oh, okay, that's not the technique, but that's kind of the thinking behind it. It's like, okay, after he dies, all the rules change. So cool. Well, let's go to the next one. This is kind of a fun one, but there's all the headlines that we see. So someone asked, do you have an opinion about UFOs and aliens and all the different headlines and all that? What do you, when you hear that, what goes through your mind?
I was going to say, I think they're all run by Doug Jones, the teacher at Rhema.
Okay, makes sense. That's what we were thinking.
There's so much being released now that I was watching the other day, stuff that had been hidden. And I'm like, how did they keep that much hidden? I think it goes back to demons and evil spirits. And that realm is getting ready to have more influence in this realm because the church is going to be gone.
It's true.
So we're holding that realm back to a certain extent. But you see symptoms of it, just like you see symptoms of the tribulation, just like you see symptoms of the second coming and symptoms of what's going to happen in the millennium. So you got all that kind of coming together at the very end. I remember, I believe it was Brother Hagin said, you'll see things cross over a little bit. So I think that's what we're seeing with
that kind of touches on, last time we did one of these, we talked about authority. The church has so much authority, we're holding things back. So if people are curious, you can always go back to that, our first episode, and we talked about authority and how that works a little bit. So, okay, cool. Let's move on to the next one. We have some here. What verses point to an additional mid-trib rapture? I know it points to it. That's why we're not super crazy about it. But So the one that comes to mind is Revelation 7, 9 to 14. It just, to sum it up, a great multitude appears in heaven suddenly, basically saying, these are the ones that coming out of the great tribulation. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I like that it talks exactly about what happens. Suddenly, that group appears. So for them to appear and be suddenly, it's exactly a rapture. So he shouldn't have to go, oh, by the way, here's quotations, it's a rapture.
Yeah.
It's just he took some people from there to here. And it goes in line with the people getting saved.
Yeah.
Because the Bible says the number that gets saved during the tribulation is innumerable.
Innumerable.
And it mentions a 200 million man army, but it can't count how many people get saved in the trib. That's a lot of people.
Crazy. And so, yeah, it's those verses, some people make that all about just a mid-trib rapture for the church, but it looks more like that's just for the people that get saved during the tribulation. It says the great tribulation. So
Exactly.
cool. Well, okay, that's the main stuff about it. That leads into, I remember we talked about this before, those verses make more sense when you know how Daniel's 70th week works.
Right.
In 25 seconds, can you explain the entire book of Daniel?
Absolutely.
That would be really great.
We'll do it in 7, and then we'll do speed tongue. But the Daniel 70th week thing has been such a word that freaked people out. I remember years ago I hear people say it, and I go, "What's the deal?" Once you find out what happens there, it purposely and flawlessly shows you're not supposed to be here during the tribulation. Probably the number one way that you can tell you aren't. What happened was in Daniel 9. Daniel realized they were in captivity for 70 years. So he goes, okay, this is not cool. So he went to the Lord by fasting and prayer to go, okay, why are we in captivity? Everything, you always go back to the Word.
Yep.
So he went back and found out they were supposed to let the land rest every 7 years. Well, guess how long they fudged and didn't let the land rest? 490 years. Well, they owed the land back 70 years, so God let them go into captivity to pay the land back. The wild thing is look how cool the New Testament is compared to that, because God was flawless about that and was serious. So they went 490 years. Remember, Peter asked Jesus, how many times did I forgive somebody? Jesus said 70 times 7 or 490 times. So then Gabriel comes back to Daniel in verse 23, and he calls him, you'll notice people about end times, he calls them beloved. He called him his beloved. He said, he gave him some verses right there that are absolutely the coolest verses on the planet. He goes, okay, you guys missed it for 490. God's giving you guys another 490. And then he said, what's going to happen is King Artaxerxes is going to talk to Nehemiah. Nehemiah is going to go, Jerusalem's all thrown down. What can we do? And Nehemiah is going to go, no problem. I mean, our King Artaxerxes is going to go, no problem. I'm going to make a decree. Because Gabriel said there's going to be a decree come to rebuild Jerusalem. And when that comes, Jesus is coming after 483 years.
Right.
But Gabriel started with, hey, you guys, you got another 490 years. You missed it for 490, God's giving you another 490. And then he tells it what it's for. It's for the Jews. It's for the city, the temple, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, seal up the most holy. Seal up the covenant, and to anoint the most holy. There's a lot going on right there. Then the next verse he says, okay, that commandment's going to go forth. So what happened was King Artaxerxes goes, we shall rebuild. The clock starts right there.
Wow. Okay.
Well, 483 years later, just like Gabriel said, Jesus came riding into Jerusalem. He never would say he's the Messiah. Even John said right before he was going to get killed, hey, go ask him, because this is not looking good for me. And Jesus said, boy, amazing. He didn't yield to the pressure. He said, just go tell him what you see and what you hear. And then when Jesus rode in on that donkey, they laid those palm branches down, Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. They said, oh, don't do that, you're admitting you're the Messiah. He said, if they didn't do it, the rocks would do it. Well, God promised them another 490. Jesus came after 483.
It was early.
So there's 7 years that he owes them. So he takes the church off the earth and repays them. It has nothing to do with the church. It has everything to do with the Jews and for the holy city.
Wow.
Now, we want everything to be about us.
Right.
But there's actually several groups that God deals with on the earth at the same time. And once you start finding the order and how he deals with them, everything starts making better sense. If you try to put all of them in this one box, I watch guys on TV, they'll quote verses that have nothing to do with the church, and it brings fear. So all this stuff should eliminate fear, and not only that, it should produce a boldness and a confidence in how powerful his blood is. Because that's what all those doctrines that try to diminish that make Jesus look like we didn't quite do enough.
Right. Yep,
And what's the origin of that? Satan, Lucifer.
Yep. No. Okay. Well, I think you summed it up pretty well. It's we also people will see online. We'll put it on YouTube. We did a couple sessions. We recorded some more. Actually, we get into it a little bit more. So more in depth, more of the verses. So you'll get to see a kind of a longer answer on that that'll come up. I can't remember when we'll get those up, but. So we'll move on here. We're doing really good. We wanted to talk about the Bethlehem Star. Can you, again, sum that up in 20 seconds, will you? I know a little bit about the Bethlehem Star. Super amazing. All how the guy tracked it and everything. You'll remember that better. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's just remarkable that God uses things in the heavens to be signals for us. He said there'd be signs in the earth, and then the heavens there'd be signals. It's the same word signs, but actually in the Hebrew it's the word signals. So you're coming into a town, you got traffic, you got signs telling you you're getting close to the city. Once you get in the city, you don't need signs, you got signals.
Yep.
So at the birth of Jesus, you had Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus come together. Jupiter, king planet. Regulus, king planet. Regal, Regulus, king planet. Regulus did retrograde motion and crowned Jupiter.
Right.
So you have that and Venus coming together at the birth of Jesus. Constellation was Virgo. Yep. That's pretty radical. All right, 2,000 years later, NBC Nightly News says we have a wild celestial event, Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus coming together again. First time in 2,000 years. So it'd be something if it was like 20 years after.
Yeah.
First time in 2,000 years.
Yep.
So with that, you've got a pretty remarkable set of times for it. And that guy that did the Bethlehem Star, he was an attorney from Nashville.
Right, I was going to, yeah.
And he said, if my kids want a nativity set, well, I'm not going to do it if I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Is it true? I love that he wanted to prove it. He went back in and saw that you can plug in a date in a computer, and it'll tell you what the heavens look like on that day.
What was the name? Do you remember what the name of the video was? I think if you just go on YouTube and type in like Bethlehem Star.
Bethlehem Star.
I think it's only like a minute or something, just the main point of that. Or I know there's more videos on it.
It's about an hour, but there's what's called a bonus section.
There's a okay.
That bonus section is 2 minutes long. It's the coolest thing I think I've ever seen ever.
Yep.
He shows what happens at 3 p.m. on the day that Jesus is killed.
Yeah, it's amazing.
On Passover at 3 p.m. The Passion Lamb is the constellation. Then they show a reverse eclipse, and the moon is down here, bright white light with the sun. 3 in the afternoon, there's an eclipse. The heart of the
ram?
The
ram's, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The heart of the ram goes black exactly when Jesus is dying on the cross.
Yeah, I think on the video he says you can see him. He would be perspiring right now.
Right there.
He'd be dying right here. And
when that goes black, the whole crowd goes just gasp because it is dramatically shows you. Look at the poetry and the orchestration of all the planets leading to right there. It would show the death of his son exactly to the moment.
So just type in the YouTube search bar, Bethlehem Star bonus feature or just bonus, and it should come right up. I've watched it a few times.
It's good.
So okay, a couple more here. We talked about Damascus being made a wasteland. Your opinion is more that, okay, it looks like that might happen before we're caught up. Are there any other things like that you can think of that come to mind that we might be able to see before we go?
I think so. I think it's unfortunate, but you notice nuclear war has been held off pretty good. We did have some nukes during World War II, and were horrible what happened, but it got Japan to surrender. I think we might see some, I don't want to call them suitcase nukes, but maybe briefcase nukes where people have smuggled in and put them in certain locations. I think we might see some of that. Yeah. I don't think we're going to see anything that's completely off the charts like Damascus being removed from the city. I think we may see that. Yeah. But boy, I tell you, I wake up often and go home. I wonder if Damascus got hit tonight.
It's crazy. Many years ago, you wouldn't have thought, oh, by the way, Russia and Ukraine are going to be in a war. You're going to have October 7th, and then you're going to have the 12-day back and forth. Imagine seeing the B-2 bombers flying overhead. You'd be going, okay, this is a big deal.
And notice all those people you talked about and all those things that were there. Look at how they've all moved in position compared to 30 years ago, 50 years ago. Yeah. 50 years ago, we knew Jesus was coming soon, but you didn't have all these players that are on the field for the main event. If they're just in the locker room waiting to come out, like, oh, I've still got time. They not only have come out of the locker room, they've lined up on the 35. Yeah. You got the kicker going back and ready to kick, and when if I'm watching OU with Colleen, she goes, they're about to start. How does she know about to start? The players are in line. Yep. And those nations you just talked about, when you got them in position like that, it just preaches to us.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, we did really good. That was our last deal. Okay, thank you everybody for watching. Be sure to comment below more questions if you want us to go more in depth. Like I said, we're going to post some more teaching. I think it was filmed in Seminole, and it'll go into some more stuff in depth. So be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Might be a couple weeks before we do another one, maybe a month or so. But thank you so much for watching. You have a blessed week.